Good evening, Mayor and Council. It is now 7 p.m. and we are live online.
So why don't we start up the meeting? Let me call it to order, and let's do a Pledge of Allegiance with flags behind you. All right, so I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. And we will start the roll call, and I'm going to start at this end. I see the city administrator. I see Councilmember Mansfield. I can speed up maybe a little bit now. I'm seeing Councilmember Weatherby, Councilmember Wake, Councilmember Grant, Councilmember Demansky, and I see Councilmember Rhodes. The city attorney and the mayor are both here. Okay, so thank you all. We got a couple of community items to do, and so let's do those first. And then the first one is some of the fun things that I have to do. So this is for Fire Lieutenant Eric Schmidt, who's done almost 30 years, not quite apparently. Right, so I just want to say a couple things about Eric. So he began his firematic career as a volunteer firefighter and was hired in February of 1996. So you can say more than 30 years of fire service to the city, right? Okay. And then in May 2021, when we created lieutenants, he was one of the first lieutenants that were put in place at that time. Throughout his tenure, Lieutenant Schmidt has found his passion for technical rescue and instructing as a New York State fire instructor. Lieutenant Schmidt was the first Beacon Fire Department member to graduate from the Fire Department New York's Frontline Supervisor Training Program. And Lieutenant Schmidt also serves as the department's longtime municipal training officer overseeing the training, and he will continue to do that for Dutchess County following retirement. I just want to thank Eric, whom I have actually known through our daughters, Sophie and Jessica, for a very, very long time. But if you can come up to the podium, I've got something for you, okay? So they all be unwrapped this, but I can give it to you, that way I can't harm it. But, so this is from the City of Beacon in honor and recognition of Eric Schmidt for more than 29 years of employment as a dedicated public service, but more than 30 years as a volunteer and a full-time firefighter. And I just want to thank you very much for your service, Eric. Thank you very much. If you want. And then please come say hi to the council. They'd all be willing to congratulate you.
Okay.
You don't have to say a word, don't worry. But if you
It's been an honor. It's been an honor serving the citizens of Beacon, especially in their time of need. I've had the privilege of working with many outstanding career and volunteer members over the years. And I'd like to thank those that put their faith in me as the First Lieutenant, former Chief Gary Van Voors, the current and previous city councils, City Administrator Chris White, and Mayor Kiriak. Thank you.
Oh, thank you for your service.
again,
Thank you for your service. Congratulations. Thank you so much. Enjoy your retirement.
all right. You had an audience back there. Okay. Next one, also just a brief one. This is from the Beacon Historical Society, and Denise Van Buren is the current president, if I have the title right.
Correct.
And you want to talk about historical markers,
I
which
do.
are proliferating throughout the city.
Well, that might be an exaggeration, but hopefully we're raising awareness, right, about the incredible history of our beloved community. So let me begin by telling you that I brought you a gift tonight because today, June the 2nd, was actually, is that today? date, June 2nd,
Yes.
when you retired, everything blurs together, was Bob Murphy's birthday. Bob was our president for 20 years, wrote our newsletter for 38 years, and then the book that I've presented to each of you is a compilation of all of his amazing newsletters about the history of Beacon. So in honor of Bob's birthday, I thought that I would bring each of you a gift. I hope that you enjoy it. I also want to thank the city, particularly the Department of Public Works, for recently installing the marker at the Memorial Building. That marker was received through a grant that the Historical Society applied for through the William G. Pomeroy Foundation, which is up in Syracuse and specializes in historic grants, actually around the country. It is not just any longer New York State. And it came about because the veterans approached us last year about helping them to celebrate the centennial of our memorial building. At the same time, the Elks Lodge came to us, and they too asked us to help us celebrate their centennial. So we worked on both of those, and we ended up applying for a grant for the Elks Lodge as well, and we expect that marker will be unveiled on June 8th, this coming Sunday. So as a board of trustees at the Historical Society, we sat down and we said, those were two great community partnerships that we had, but if we as the historians of the keepers of Beacon Story, we're going to put historic markers up, what would be the appropriate things that both new residents and visitors and also longtime residents ask us? And of course, the number one is the Mount Beacon Incline Railway. So we have applied for a grant to place a William G. Pomeroy marker on this property of Scenic Hudson on Route 9D, and all of that has been applied for and is in the system already. The deadline for these grants in this round is Monday, June 9th. And so that one is complete. The other marker that we have worked hard to be able to compile the information for is to mark the dividing line between the two villages. So you're all really smart, and I know you know the two villages were
Fishkill Landing.
Fishkill Landing, excellent, and Mattawan. And they, of course, joined together in 1913 to make the city of Beacon. Do you know where the dividing line was between them? It was Chestnut Street.
South Chestnut, north, yeah, just Chestnut.
Both sides of Chestnut Street. So we are frequently asked that. Many people will say, you know, where were they divided? And it's a funny thing because even the Catholic Church of St. Joachim's, if you lived on that side of Chestnut Street, you were St. Joachim's. If you lived on this side, you were St. John. So it had many purposes here in Beacon. Initially, if you lived on the Fishkill Landing side, you got your mail delivered to your home. If you lived in Mattawan, you had to go get your mail. So it played a big part in their lives, and it is a part of our history. So we put together an application, and I will read it to you for a historic marker that we just are hoping to gain your support for and hope that you're as excited about it as we are. And it would be titled Dividing Line, and we are very limited on the number of characters. Chestnut Street, Divided Villages of Fishkill Landing, incorporated 1864, and Mattawan, 1886, merged 1913 to form Beacon. So pretty straightforward. We'd like to place it on adjacent to one of the public lots on Chestnut Street. There's one on the north side, there's one on the south side. And wherever you think would be the most appropriate location, we're happy to have it placed there. Should the city not want to have it placed near one of those lots, we would seek out a private property owner somewhere on Chestnut Street who might be willing to allow us to place it. So that's why I come before you tonight. I hope that you'll support this. It's part of our ongoing efforts to tell the story of Beacon and what makes this such a great place to live. Why more and more people should come and want to live here. This is a little tiny part of a story, and we hope you'll support it. So I'm happy to answer any questions.
So I would just point out, I don't think this requires any council approval, but we thought, you know, come Denise talk, it's a good way to both advertise it and to gather support. The other thing is, I'm guessing the dividing line might have been the water course that goes underneath the Rite Aid, right at South Chestnut.
I will send you a copy of the 1912
Yeah, I'm
Sanford Insurance Company map, and you'll clearly see where it's marked. The Mattawan Brook came,
Yeah.
I think, a little further closer to the mountain than there, but I may be wrong on that. That, of course, was put all underground. But let me see if I can
Yeah, I'm interested.
get that path. I'll send you that. I have a close-up of it. But I will tell you, you know, nothing is ever easy, right, when you do something like this. I contacted the county historian. I said, I need documentation on the incorporation dates for our early villages. No problem, they said. So they found me the one for Mattawan, no problem, 86. And Fishkill Landing, I said, well, it's 1864. Oh, no, it's 1878. And I said, no, every record we have, 1864, 20 years older than Matawan. I know it for a fact. No, no, no. And they said all their records show 1878. So what happened is, apparently it was formed, Fishkill Landing, which is, of course, down here near the river, is formed 1864 and incorporated, and then the great state of New York, in its infinite wisdom, in 1870 changed the way municipalities needed to be incorporated. And so it took them 7 or 8 years, and finally in 1878, they actually reincorporate. So if you look at the Jubilee booklet, you'll see them talking about 1864 and 1878 as a reincorporation date. So I still have to work out that language, but it was just an example of nothing is ever easy. I thought this was going to be pretty black and white, but it turns out there's a little wrinkle. So any comments or questions? There is a section on the north side that has a little bit of greenery at the kind of the end of the parking lot, and I thought that might be on Church Street, the corner with Church Street, might be a nice little place for it. But wherever the city is interested in placing it, we'd be delighted. And should it be approved, it's still a competitive grant process, and the fact that we got 2 last year was pretty amazing. I'm hoping we'll get 2 again this year, but there's no guarantees. It won't be approved until September, and we wouldn't get it until late in the year, so we're talking about a spring 2026 erection.
And we asked Denise to come tonight because there's a letter of support the city needs to provide in the next week. So unless there are concerns, and if you have concerns, you can convey them to me via email. Otherwise, we would provide that letter and figure out a site where we could put it.
Yeah, I mean, no concerns at all. I just want to say thank you for all the work that you and the Historic
you.
Society do, and encourage people to go visit the Historic Society. There's lots of great exhibits that they have on a rotating basis, and as well as the permanent collections. It's very fun to have somebody help you out with the maps. You can see if you can find your house. So
Right.
Thank you for all you do. And yeah, I'm sure that you can figure out the appropriate location.
Yeah.
Thank you.
No
Thank you
concerns.
so much. You know, people don't appreciate probably, like so many other organizations in Beacon, we are 100% volunteer. This is our 49th year. We have more than 400 members, and I was just mentioning we have about 6,600 followers on social media. So we are far larger, many times larger than any other local historical society. Evidence, I think, of the fact that people really are interested in Beacon and its history.
Thank you.
Well, I'll also say that part of the reason that the Historical Society does so well is that Denise is helping lead it. She has an amazing ability to rope people into things. No
It's a
comment.
gift, really. Thank you, thank you. And
Thank
I
you,
will just
Denise.
add from a historic perspective that in 1996, when I was on maternity leave from my job, I was the MC when we dedicated this building.
Oh, wow.
And then I had the privilege of being the MC at the firehouse dedication across the street, so that makes me super old. So thank you all.
Thank you.
Makes me historic, right?
Denise was a council member in 1992-3. Yeah.
In the third ward.
First ward.
Got it. Okay, thank you. I'll also take this opportunity to just read this real quick, only take a moment. The Department of Homeland Security issued a list, which has apparently been withdrawn, of cities, counties, and states that are, quote, deliberately obstructing the enforcement of federal immigration laws and endangering American citizens, unquote. Which list includes the city of Beacon. It is absolutely not the case that the city is deliberately obstructing the enforcement of federal immigration laws. While the city has yet to receive any formal communication from the federal government, we remain confident that the city is abiding by all applicable state and federal laws and judicial orders. Our city and our police department remain committed to protecting public safety, and any statements to the contrary are presumably misleading and inaccurate. So I just wanted to read that. Okay. Thanks for both of those opportunities to honor folks. And we'll do public comments next. So if anyone has a public comment, and I see no one on the list, so if anyone in the audience would like to make a public comment, now's the time to do so. Come on up, tell us who you are.
Clark Kidman, 2 Wilson Street. There are many opportunities for improvement to democracy And a small community such as this, with an engaged audience of people who claim to love our city, it would seem to me that the council ought to conduct an outreach to understand what the public would like in terms of responsive government. It's been years that I've talked about this topic in various ways, and I think it's a good time in the lull of the summer to think about the major events and projects the city has in front of it and see if it can't improve on the concept of more public outreach with the assistance of trained professionals on the topics in which they could occur. One would be accountability in terms of fiscal matters. Another may very well be a second view of the Route 52 situation, but an enhanced view as it relates to the prison grounds as well as to the areas on the other side of the Fishkill Creek, part of which what I own. I think that predetermining the scope of an investigation can be harmful, such as the Route 52. The Texaco properties, the Jensen properties, the Catholic Church properties, the prison ground, and 52 all have important linkages to be considered by the community as a whole, as opposed to a highly regulated scope of work. And I think it's given the position of the state, given the position of the prison ground, given the position of the Texaco property, and given the position of property in which I intend to develop and apply for in the next 12 months, both on Stone Street and Liberty Street. And they all kind of touch each other. And there is got to be a better plan that the county becomes aware of in terms of parking, in
15
terms
seconds.
of roadways, and some kind of replacement for both Route 9 and 9D through the environmental grounds that were once supposed to be a college.
Thank you very much. Sir, come on up, tell us your name, where you live, and have at it. You have 3 minutes for any topic, actually, except for
Good
3
evening.
public hearings.
My name is Mark Radican. I've been a resident for 15 years in Beacon, more precisely Beacon Hills. And my 20-year-old self would be quite surprised about what motivated me to come down here tonight. But I was reading and I saw that there's a motion to amend the loitering law in Beacon as it relates to smoking marijuana. So I just wrote a little something here that I want to share. Hopefully
So,
you'll consider my
Mark,
thoughts.
can you hang on one sec? So officially, could you wait about 10 or 15 minutes to make that comment? So here's why. This is the public comment for anything except our public hearings, and I forgot to tell people we have 3 public hearings.
Okay.
And one of those public hearings is what you're asking about, the one about loitering. So if you could just hold on a couple of
not a
minutes,
problem.
and we're going to do those right next, and then that'll be appropriate.
Thank
Okay,
you.
and it's my fault for not letting people know.
No fault.
Okay.
I could hang out.
Okay, great. Anyone else like to make a general public comment except for 3 topics that are topics of public hearings? The one public hearing is regarding accessory apartments. The second one is a drought emergency plan, and the third one is an amendment to the local law on loitering. So if you could just wait for those, and then could you tell us your name and where you are, where you live?
Teresa Kraft,
Hey,
Beacon,
Teresa.
New York.
Thank you.
I moved here about 100 years ago. I want to see the city get back on track. This is a full-time city that requires full-time governance. It shouldn't operate on a summer schedule and remote workers. This year is busier than any other that I've ever experienced since 1977. I told you when I got here. I believe the city cannot wait until September to engage in discussions with the planning board. We need to implement a new comprehensive plan immediately, and a preservation commission. I strongly believe the city needs one. We are at a crossroads. I have watched this current council drastically change zoning codes and laws to permit high-density developments and the possibility of small accessory dwellings in every backyard within our 5-square-mile footprint, all while passing the burden on to residents. I find it hard to believe the statistics from last week's workshop package, which claim that fewer than a handful of accessory apartments have been filed with the city's building department between the years 2022 and 2024. Just 1 detached unit, 1 in a new residence, and 2 within existing homes. Anyone on the crowded Main Street on any given day will tell you that they are staying in an Airbnb or a nearby rented garage. No one wants to see every neighborhood and major corner transformed into a congested intersection filled with nondescript, cookie-cutter, overdevelopment projects. Yes, those words are repeated endlessly. You claim that the traffic and parking situations are acceptable, but acceptable to who? Not to us. The successes of Development Daily will affect every resident in Southern Dutchess. History tends to repeat itself in this city. You seem to be willing to sacrifice the quality of life of your current residents to satisfy the demands of new and future residents and developers, much like how urban renewal once overshadowed existing neighborhoods. Next year, our country will celebrate the 250th anniversary of the American history and the American Revolution, with many communities actively sharing their heritage. Yet many people are unaware of the significance that the American Revolution holds in our own backyard. All we seem to hope for are a few more signs to mark what once was, rather than preserving what still stands, and that needs protecting. Our view sheds are extremely important. We must save our Hudson Valley history and protect the quality of life for all current and, yes, even future residents of the city of Beacon and beyond.
Thank you. Anyone else in the physical audience want to make a comment other than the public hearings, which are coming up next? Okay, anyone online, Ben?
If you're on Zoom and you'd like to make a public comment this evening, you will need to use the raise hand option at the bottom of your screen. If you're joining by phone, you can press *9. Lastly, if you're watching on YouTube, you'll need to join the Zoom instead by going to beaconny.gov, navigating to our website calendar, and clicking on the Zoom link. As of now, we have no hands raised on Zoom.
Okay. So I'll close the open public comments, and I'll open the first public hearing, which is an amendment to the zoning code on accessory apartments. Nick, would you just explain what we're doing in this public hearing, what the proposed law is?
I will, thank you, Mayor. So in the council's agenda packet is a draft of the proposed local law revised pursuant to the council's conversation at its last workshop meeting and based upon further review by our office with the city planner and the city building inspector. And in your packet is a memorandum from our office that goes through and addresses those changes. In the local law in the agenda packet, the edits that are new to the local law are highlighted in yellow for the ease of a reader. I'll just briefly provide an overview of those edits. And the intent of this local law is to streamline the process for accessory apartments and add some consistency to it and remove some of the barriers. So we've modified the definition of accessory apartment, which occurs in 2 places in the local law, to remove the phrase small and rental, because it's not restricted just to rentals, and small is rather subjective, and instead you have in the zoning code some guidelines regarding the size, so we thought it was appropriate to remove that. The second change is to subsection C of 223-24.1, where we've clarified that an accessory apartment may be part of a detached single-family residence, and we've also added a new sentence that a newly constructed building containing an accessory apartment shall be located at or behind the front line of a single-family dwelling, and that was a direct comment from the planning board's discussion last week. And then with respect to the apartment size in subsection D, we've reorganized it for ease of reading and to provide that the accessory apartment with a floor area over 1,000 total square feet requires site plan approval. And the 1,000 square foot was recommended by the village city planner based upon the fact that the maximum size of an accessory apartment under existing regulations is 1,000 square feet, and also from the survey commissioned by the Dutchess County Planning Department, which is discussed further in the memo. We've also revised it in subsection F to provide that there is no required number of off-street parking spaces for accessory apartments. That is also continued later on in one of the tables. And then a new footnote C was added to the schedule of use regulations for accessory buildings to clarify that the maximum square footage permitted for each accessory building and maximum cumulative square footage for all accessory buildings is not applicable to accessory apartments. So your regulation of accessory apartments is really governed by the requirement for site plan approvals, and that any of those that are over 1,000 square feet or greater than 50% would then require site plan approval. With respect to the data, the planning department, Dutchess County, found that there were 3,201 single-family dwelling units in the city, of which they range in size from the smallest being 330 square feet to the largest being 6,580 square feet. 12% of homes are under 1,000 square feet. 60% are under 1,500 square feet, and 85% are under 2,000 square feet. And you've previously received comments from the planning board, and those comments were discussed at last week's meeting and led to the changes. You also have received comments from Dutchess County that said it's a matter of local concern.
Okay, thank you.
Can I ask a clarifying question before we go to the public, just so they're aware as well? So I know it's not on the agenda for us to vote on tonight. So if the city council had a further discussion of some of the things that were kind of in the memo, depending on what we agree to amend, it might be that this needs to continue to have public hearings, or could it even have to be renoticed? Does that depend on what we talk about?
Correct. If you keep the public hearing open, then you don't need to renotice it. If you close it, and then at the next workshop you make substantive changes, significant changes, then there would be a need to reconvene a public hearing.
Okay, great, thank you.
Okay, now, if someone would like to make a comment on the accessory apartment changes, this would be the time to do so.
I imagine there's a considerable amount of homeowners among the 3,000 or so in the city of Beacon that are facing life changes in age, employment, or children staying a decade or so longer than perhaps they used to. To the most needy of those who would contemplate transferring their real estate from a single family to a plus accessory, is an expense, and also some insurance questions, which I won't get into because I'm not an expert on it. But I am an expert on the value of getting a two-family mortgage for a one-plus affordable or a housing unit. It can make all the difference between the effectiveness of legislation and the ineffective window washing that you're proposing. All you have to do is say something simple like, if an accessory apartment is to be designated as a second unit within a one-family, now two-family unit, the parking shall be required. And that then addresses for the planning board the ability to make compassionate decisions without having to cheapen the effect of the law. The city is empowered to empower homeowners to benefit from their real estate, and if they need to take a loan out as if it were a two-family house, then why in God's name would you stop it? But for potentially parking, which is a serious issue, and I would fully endorse the idea that there be some additional parking requirement if you're going to go to so designated opt-out, not the accessory unit, but a two-family unit that a bank can then lend you money on and enrich your family experience that you work so hard for. Why would the city of Beacon want to not allow that? And this goes on the same topic as why is there not four-family housing allowed in the city? Get with it, folks. You're in all due respect, I've been nice. as I can be.
15
But you're
seconds.
really feeling on this very, very important social issue. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else in the physical public on this particular topic of accessory apartments? All right, seeing none. Oh, of course.
I don't want to admit, but I live in the same neighborhood, Teresa Craft. I'm seeing a lot of homes with new owners, and I don't know that they have accessory apartments in there, but I know that there's multiple families living in them, and some of these homes have 5, 6 cars, and they're parking on the road. So parking is a real issue in every neighborhood in the city of Beacon. And, yeah, I don't know how you're going to control and monitor ADUs, because it's happening and we're just not seeing it on paper.
Thank you. Not seeing anyone else in the physical public, anyone online on this particular topic of accessory apartments?
Yes, Mayor, we have one hand raised online. That is McCall. McCall, you have permission to speak whenever you're ready.
Thank you, Ben. Good evening, Council. I generally support the idea of adding ADUs for affordability, but I'm concerned that the way you have the legislation written at the moment, it doesn't guarantee that the units will be affordable at all, and we have already seen cases of very small and very expensive ADUs. Additionally, I'm very concerned about how the owner occupancy will be enforced. We already know that there are major issues for the city to enforce the owner-occupied Airbnb, even when they are granting licenses to the certain Airbnbs. So this will just be a free-for-all, and I don't know if we have the capacity to enforce it. Additionally, I would like to understand how the ADUs will be designated in parcel access, and whether you will have to get a landlord permit like regular landlords do. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else, Ben?
No further hands raised on this topic.
All right, so I'll entertain a motion to close the public hearing.
Motion.
George?
I would prefer to continue it. I think there are some new things that are in there that we might discuss at workshop, and then we can always close it. I'm fine to, if we don't make changes, then at the next meeting. I don't know, can we do it the same day as the double meeting? Could we discuss it in workshop, and if we don't change anything, still then close it on the 16th and vote on it? Like, have it on the agenda as an option?
Could, yes, if there's no substantive changes, you could, yes.
Yeah, I would rather have that as an option, just in case. I have some questions, actually, about the size thing that we talked about the last workshop, and just making sure that it fits what we want.
So procedurally, how would that be different than us closing the hearing, and if there's substantive changes, we would reopen it?
Because you would just need to renotice a public hearing and wait 2 weeks to notice it, then hold the public hearing, close it, and then vote on it. It's an extra meeting or two.
All right, so you're saying that it actually might be a quicker time frame to continue, and then, if we're good, to close it without further comment?
Correct.
Yeah.
Okay.
I think that sounds appropriate.
George, would that be okay as a motion?
Sure. I withdraw my motion to
All right, so well, the motion is withdrawn, so I will look for a motion to continue the public hearing for 2 weeks?
Yes.
I'm sorry.
June
16th?
16th, is that right? So is that Molly's motion?
Sure, that's Molly's motion.
And
A second.
And Amber's second? Any other discussion on it? Okay, so all in favor? Aye. Anyone opposed? Great. There was an interesting question raised, which is, I don't know how this works on parcel access. I'm
Yeah, I wrote
interested.
that down. I don't know either.
Yeah, thank you. And I can list you some accessory units that would be easy to look up just to see how they're listed. They would be on the assessor's should be on the assessor's roll. They're certainly in the building departments, but whether they're on parcel access and how they're, identified so that the general public could see it online is an interesting question. Okay, so the second hearing is the ever-exciting drought emergency plan. I'm going to just open the public hearing on that and ask Nick for a brief explanation.
So the current city code in chapter 24 provides for a drought emergency plan to be declared, has various stages. There's in your agenda packet the local law as well as the memo, and it's being discussed in prior work sessions. In essence, this local law is changing the code to allow the mayor to declare the drought emergency based upon the advice and recommendation of the superintendent of water, rather than the city council having to adopt a resolution declaring that emergency. And then some other minor cleanup changes.
Okay, so that's a great explanation. Is there anyone who wishes to speak on the drought emergency plan change, simplifying the declaration of a drought emergency? Seeing no one in the physical audience, anyone online, Ben?
No hands raised on Zoom.
I'm shocked. Motion to close the public hearing on this matter?
Motion.
So,
I'll do the second.
So Pam and Amber? Thank you very much. All in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Hearing none. Now, I will open the third public hearing, which is on loitering. And if, Nick, could you give us a brief explanation, and then we'll have the audience
I
speak.
can. So also, the local law and the memo from our firm is in your agenda packet. You've discussed it at previous workshops. The law is to bring the city's loitering code into conformance with New York State. So New York State has decriminalized marijuana uses, and it is permitted to be smoked in public places unless it's prohibited, like as it is in city parks or things of that nature, where other tobacco or other smoking is prohibited. So this is just correcting the law to remove something that the city is not permitted to have in its code.
Okay, so I'll open the public hearing, and Mark, thank you so much. I appreciate your waiting patiently.
Yeah, just some thoughts to consider. I'm Mark Radican, again, been here 15 years, and perhaps I'll be the lone voice in the wilderness over this, but I'll be quick. So I do believe in a polite society that strives to accommodate as best it can a sensible approach to daily life. And while public drinking or intoxication is illegal and frowned upon, and it's a vice, so it should be with marijuana in public as well. I've been in New York City, I've worked there, and I've seen since it's been decriminalized that the city literally reeks. Marijuana is much stronger than it ever was, and the smoking is in the air, what seems like forever. It's much worse than even cigar smoke now. Does Beacon want this for its outdoor diners and its Main Street? Its children and those that are simply turned off by the intrusion? Beacon should be just that, a beacon, set a high standard. Let it remain an idyllic setting for its residents and a getaway for its visitors. Let's just choose common sense over, I'm not against marijuana on the surface. I mean, I've smoked it. But again, as a member of society, I wouldn't want to see somebody walking down Main Street holding a bottle of Jack Daniels by the neck and taking swigs out of it either. So I just think that we should be careful. Because again, I've seen what it did to New York City. Maybe you guys might want to ask around perhaps people that are down there themselves about how it could, really impact our town. That's all. I just wanted to share a couple of thoughts with you.
Thank you very much. Anyone else in the physical public on this topic?
Teresa Kraft, I agree with the previous comment made. We look around the world, even France is implementing a broad ban on smoking in most public places, and everybody knows how cool it is to be in France with the smoking. You can't walk down Main Street without walking into it. It's really becoming obnoxious. They're just sitting on every public bench, standing outside every bar. The bar scene's a little out of control too. I'd say keep it, put some regulations on it, because it's growing like a weed in Beacon.
Anyone online, Ben?
No hands raised on Zoom.
And Mayor, I would just clarify that New York State law doesn't allow the city to regulate it. It is permitted, and so we're preempted from banning it in public sidewalks. You're allowed to ban it on your property, which is your parks, but not in the public spaces, and that's why we're removing this language, because it's at conflict with New York State law.
And for clarification, we do not permit smoking of any kind currently in the parks, as you mentioned, which is the area that we are allowed to regulate.
Correct.
So is the open container law the way that drinking is dealt with in public?
Correct.
And that's a state law?
That's a state law.
So you're saying we don't regulate an open container?
Well, we do by enforcing the New York State law, yes.
Yes,
but we do.
Yeah, but we don't legislate in that area.
Correct.
The state would have to do it. So similarly here,
It's in our code, too.
It's in our code.
Yeah, we have 2 provisions in our code about open container.
open container? So could we have a provision in our code about open smoking?
No, because the state doesn't allow you to distinguish between cigarette smoking and cannabis smoking.
Okay. So if we wanted to do something like it, it would be all smoking?
No, we can't.
Yeah, I was guessing.
Right, can't prohibit it.
All right.
If you want to do something about it, you need to ask Albany to make a state law.
Okay. I just wanted to clarify, because the commentary was interesting, and it got some of us thinking, I think.
I understand the comment, but you're without the authority to address it, unfortunately.
Okay.
So the state law preempts it, and the city does not have the authority.
Yeah. Okay. So, having said that, I'll take a motion to close this public hearing.
Motion.
So that's Amber.
Second.
Pullum?
Yeah, let Pullum.
Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Anyone opposed? Okay. Thank you all. That was instructive. I appreciate it. That handles the public hearings, and we'll address some of those laws actually at a subsequent meeting, not this one, right?
Correct.
Okay. Let's do reports. Let's start with the timely arrival of Councilmember Rhodes and work around.
Thank you, Mayor. So I'll have my next office hours June 20th from 4 to 6 p.m. at Pole Hill Park, or if for some reason it's raining on that Friday, then I'll have them at Bank Square Coffee House. I want to thank Major John McEnroe and the VFW Hall for putting together a great memorial service on Memorial Day. Last week it was just a wonderful event, that and the wreath throwing at the bridge as well, just a great way to kind of really center on what Memorial Day is about, remembering those who gave the ultimate sacrifice and served our country. And I also wanted to talk about Pride. So happy Pride now that we're in June. Thank you to the city for raising the Pride flag today or over the weekend. And we have some events coming up here in Beacon. We have a Beacon Family Pride Day held at the Yard now for the past couple of years on Sunday, June 15th. You can find more about that online. And then also, for those who are interested, there is a county-wide parade on the day before, on June 14th. On the Saturday, kicks off at noon in the center of the city in front of Bardavon on Market Street. So anyone who's interested in that is welcome. And there's also a festivity down at the park after that they walk to. So it's also a great family-friendly event for those who are looking for ways to celebrate pride in community. And I will pass it over to Jeff.
Thanks, Molly. I just have a couple of questions for discussion when it's appropriate. Curious when is, we talked about communication strategies for the city. I'm just curious when that's coming back on the agenda for our future discussion. I've shared information in the past couple of weeks with the council for reflection and suggestions, so curious when that's coming back on the agenda. The second is, hearkening back a few weeks, there was a article in the paper about community choice aggregation, that there was consideration by a number of communities, that it hadn't launched. It was down in Phillipstown and Cold Spring in the last iteration with one of the administrators. Just curious if the city is still exploring those options with the changing marketplace and the uncertainty in the utilities. That's it, passing.
Okay. I will also start by saying Happy Pride, and I did want to mention that there is an event this weekend at the Elks Lodge on Sunday, June 8th at 11 a.m. This is I believe, annual. I know I've gone the past couple of years, Flag Day ceremony, and they talk about the history of the flag. They have some guest speakers, and there is a tribute to those who have served the country. They have light refreshments afterward. It's a very interesting ceremony to take part in, and as I said, that is Sunday, June 8th at the Elks Lodge at 11 a.m. And that's it for me.
Thanks, Amber. I will also say Happy Pride. And also, I will repeat the plug for Juneteenth that I've been doing. Beacon's third annual Juneteenth Riverfront Festival will be on June 19th at Pete and Toshi Seeger Park from 11 a.m. to 5 p.m. My understanding is that the MTA has recognized that federal holiday, so parking is free in the train station lot. My next open office hours are going to be this Sunday, June 8th, from 4 to 6 p.m. At Pole Hill Park or Bank Square if it is raining. And I'll just add that I would be interested in having communications back on the agenda, even if there aren't updates yet from the administration from when we last discussed. I think it would be interesting to have a public discussion of the survey results that Jeff has shared out in a workshop.
Okay.
I just wanted to announce I got my invite because I'm an older adult now. The county, the Office of the Aging, the invites have gone out for the free picnic for older adults, which is being held in Beacon on Wednesday, July 9th at noon. You do need to RSVP by June 26, calling 845-486-2555, and there is limited reservations, so call when you can. That's all I have.
And I just have a few announcements as well. Just a reminder that the citywide yard sale is June 14th, and if you're interested in registering for that, the deadline is June 11th, and the application can be found on the City of Beacon website. And the other thing is if you don't sell everything at your yard sale, that the free dump is still available, and it's up to 250 pounds for all properties that are good with their taxes. So that that's open Tuesday, Thursdays, and Saturdays. Okay, that's it. Thanks.
I have the pleasure of going last, so I don't have to repeat all the other items, but thank you for all those. Those are all very useful and important. I will simply say that my family was on vacation from Memorial Day weekend till this morning. It was a nice break, and I'm just happy to be back. Okay. We've done the public hearings. Oh, City Administrator, got anything?
I do. Just a reminder that we are flushing fire hydrants over the month of June, and we began today up around the mountain area. That will be going for the next 4 weeks, and the hydrant flushing schedule is on the city's website. Thank you.
Okay. We have 5 items that are resolutions, and let's get started on them. The first one is just simply setting a public hearing. So this is setting a public hearing, is it on June 16th? I believe?
Yes.
Okay. For the 2026 to 2030 capital program. Let me get a motion and a second and have Chris explain a little bit to the public.
Motion.
Second.
So Molly and Amber. Chris, you want to tell us anything about that?
Sure.
A quick version.
The city charter requires that we prepare and present the mayor's 5-year capital program by the end of May. We did that at the last meeting with both a draft 5-year plan and a financing plan for next year. The financing plan authorizes approximately $6.52 million for the general fund, water fund, and sewer fund. These documents are on our website. They are in the agenda package, and we will be receiving comment and then deliberating on them further in workshop before they're voted on. And the council, by the charter, is supposed to pass this by the end of July. So if you want to have any say in this, please join us at the next meeting.
Okay.
I have a clarifying question in terms of the time that we put on this public notice, because it's a double meeting. I assume we have a workshop first. I can't remember what we've done in past years, if we still keep it at 7 or if we say 7:30, just in case anyone wants to come, they don't want to necessarily sit
We
through.
had been saying immediately following the workshop.
Okay.
But generally, like, we tried a couple times saying 8 o'clock,
And then
but it
sometimes
didn't
we would,
always.
work out that way. Okay, great. Yeah, I just wanted to clarify that. And yeah, I think that's useful, so people at least know there'll be a workshop before.
Yes.
Great, thank you.
Yeah. And, we're one of the few municipalities that doesn't do the 2 meetings a month routine. So just so you know. Okay. So all in favor of setting a public hearing for the 2026 to 2030 capital program, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Anyone opposed? Okay, 1 down. The second one is also setting a public hearing, and this is for a proposed local law concerning vehicles and traffic, meaning some changes to our stop signs, et cetera. Can I get a motion and a second to set that public hearing for June 16th?
Motion. Second.
So Paloma and Molly, did I hear right? Okay. And Ben, you're going to tell us quickly what those are?
Yeah, I'll keep it very brief. The diagrams that we looked at last week are in the packet for anyone who's interested. Briefly, this is 4 short additions to, or changes to the vehicle and traffic code of the city, namely doing a slight extension of the no parking zone on the east side of North Chestnut to the driveway of 75 North Chestnut. That's to accommodate a narrowing roadway as well as intersection visibility. The second of the 4 was having a no parking zone along the south portion of the feeder road of Verplank at the intersection of Willow Street. This is to accommodate better emergency vehicle access as it heads up Willow Street and into that area of the city to respond to fires or other emergency calls. The third of the 4 was making the intersection of Washington and Tillett to a 4-way intersection that is due to safety concerns of school crossings, the nearby bus stop, and as well as the changing character of the neighborhood becoming more densely residential. And lastly, another fire department request was making longer no parking zones along Willow Street on both sides at the intersection of Main, slightly longer on the eastern side, both sides extending to the first parking lots off of Main Street on Willow.
Okay, any comments before we set the public hearing? No. All right. All in favor of setting the public hearing for these changes to our vehicle and traffic code to June 16th, say aye. Aye. Anyone opposed? Okay. So the next one is appointing Justine Bienkowski to the Tree Advisory Committee. Can I get a motion and a second?
Motion.
So Pam and Paloma. And then Ben, will you tell us a little bit about Justine, and while you're at it, also tell us about Brian, so we can just do them very quickly?
Absolutely. I'll try not to be too repetitive from last week. Justine is a member of our CAC, our Conservation Advisory Committee. She has volunteered to be the liaison between the 2 committees as required by the city's code. And she's been a good addition to the CAC by all accounts and has already attended some meetings according to Chair Andy Bell. And so the mayor believed that she would be a good addition to the Tree Advisory Committee. And Brian is a new applicant that has not been on a city committee prior that I'm aware of, but he had a good mix of educational experience and work history and interest in trees, and we thought that his application seemed fitting to fill the other vacancy on the committee. Both of those, their application materials are in the packet for your review. If you have any questions, I'm happy to answer them.
So Justine has a motion on the table. Any comments on the appointment of Justine Bienkowski to the Tree Advisory Committee? All right, so all in favor of doing so, say aye. Aye. Anyone opposed? All right, and then separately, we need a motion and a second to appoint Brian Donnelly to the Tree Advisory Committee.
Motion.
Second.
So that's Paloma and Molly. Any further comments? All right, all in favor of appointing Brian Donnelly to the Tree Advisory Committee, say aye. Aye. Anyone opposed? Okay, so the last item is a resolution concerning self-storage facilities. This was separated out from the drive-through portion of the recommendations for the Route 52 committee. So can I get a motion and a second to adopt the local law concerning self-storage facilities?
Motion.
Second.
So that was George and Pam. And with that on the table, Nick, will you tell us and the public a little bit about this?
Certainly, Mayor. So this local law regulates self-storage facilities and warehouse storages, recognizing they are permitted uses in the GB, the LI, and the HI zoning districts, except a special permit is required for parcels that have frontage on Main Street, Fishkill Avenue, Beekman Street, Herbert Street, and Tyranda Avenue. And in that case, they're only allowed by a special permit from a planning board, subject to the following restrictions: that the self-storage and facilities and warehouse storage are not located along the street-facing property line, that self-storage facilities and warehouse storage are located behind the active ground floor permitted uses, below grade, or in a separate secondary structure that is set back a minimum of 10 feet from a primary street-facing structure, and then satisfies the general special use permit requirements of the zoning code.
Okay. Any questions concerning that? What I basically heard was there were some zones where this is permitted. They're still permitted in those zones, except it requires a special use permit if it fronts some of our main streets.
Yes.
Okay. I don't want to list them because you already listed them.
Correct. Right.
Got it. Any further comments, questions? All right. So then all in favor of adopting the changes to the self-storage facilities and warehouse storage, say aye. Aye. Anyone opposed?
I am.
Ooh, okay. Do we need to have any discussion, or that's fine?
No, it's fine.
Okay, good. Good, I like being in that position sometimes, so it's just no problem.
I still like that one.
Yeah. So, oh, okay, the time has come. So the approval of the May 19 minutes, I need a motion and a second.
Motion.
Second.
Molly and Paloma, if that's okay. Any changes, additions, comments?
So a couple of things. Once again, George is apparently a council member for our ward, so we might want to add an F to the front of that. And then also for, we have on here when we were initially going to do the ADU public hearing, and it says motion to close the public hearing, but I think it's actually motion to adjourn. So just a small correction there.
Okay. Everybody good with that?
Good catches.
So with those corrections, can I get a vote on the motion to approve the minutes of May 19th? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Anyone opposed? All right, thank you. This is the second opportunity for public comments. If you have not spoken at the first opportunity, you may now do so on any topic other than our 3 public hearings. Seeing none. Anyone online?
We do have one hand raised online. Is McCall? McCall, you have permission to speak whenever you're ready.
Thank you, Ben. My comment is, I saw that you have real property on the agenda again for executive session, and I just wanted to thank the council members that pushed to get as much transparency about your decision-making process as possible with the previous firehouse at the very last minute. And I am just hoping that, as you know, the public is extremely interested in this, and that you will find ways to make your decision and thought process as transparent as possible, as early as possible. I also wanted to note, with regard to the explanation that was provided last time, that I was able to find examples when the council, including folks that are currently on the council, have voted on sale of city property where both the name of the seller as well as the sale price was transparently noted on the agenda before the contract was signed. So while I believe that the information given to us was correct, there might actually be ways to vote that have happened in the past in the city of Beacon within the last few years. So I just want to make everyone aware of that, because as we all know, like, a lot of rumors start when things are hidden. So the more transparency we can get about this extremely large real estate deals, that would be better for everyone. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Ben?
No further hands raised on Zoom.
Okay. So I am to announce the next meeting, which is June 16th, starting at 7 p.m. That will be a workshop, followed immediately by the regularly scheduled meeting, also on June 16th. And at this stage, I will look for a motion to go into executive session to discuss real property and personnel, to do no further business, and to adjourn.
Motion.
Second.
So that was Amber and Molly. All in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? All right. Thank you all very much, and good night. And we'll see you in a minute.
Recording